The first laugh sounded like a glass breaking. It started with my own mouth moving toward my wife's cheek. Just a small kiss, the kind you give in public so the room can relax and believe the story it came to watch. My hand was on her waist. Her skin was warm from the crowded house, from the string lights, from all that attention she drank like water. Mallory turned her face away at the last second. Not shy, not playful, like I was a stranger with bad breath. Her mouth curled up. A smirk. The kind of smirk you save for someone you've already decided is beneath you. I'd rather kiss a stranger than you. It landed clean. No stutter, no hesitation, like she'd practiced it in the mirror while I was brushing my teeth. Everyone laughed, not one of those awkward, polite laughs either. Real laughter, champagne laughter, the kind that says, "We're safe because it's him, not us." The pool behind us glittered. The glass walls of Tessa's house caught the party like a fish tank catching light. People in linen and expensive shoes stood close enough to smell each other's cologne and secrets. Phones were out. Of course they were. Somebody always wanted content. I felt my face do a thing it hasn't done since I was a kid, getting called poor at a richer kid's birthday party. Heat first, then the cold that comes after, when your brain decides it's smarter to shut off a few feelings to keep you alive. Tessa, Mallory's best friend, Queen Bee, ringmaster, covered her mouth like she was shocked, but her eyes were shining. She was filming. Her phone angled just right, like she'd found her favorite seat. A man slid into the space beside Mallory like he owned it. Tall, clean suit even at a backyard party, hair that looked like it had never met humidity. His smile was the kind you bought by never having to say you were sorry for anything. Grant Mercer, the rainmaker, partner at the firm that did half the city's development deals. The kind of guy who could clap you on the shoulder and make you feel like you owed him money. He raised his glass at me, a silent toast to my humiliation. "Ethan," he said, like he was tasting the name. "Good sport." Mallory leaned into him, not quite touching, but close enough that the whole room could imagine the shape of it. Her perfume rolled off her like a curtain. Nothing like being roasted by the person who shares your dental plan. I took a breath through my nose and found the quiet place in my chest. The place that knew how to read blueprints. The place that could stand on a construction site with 8 men yelling and still hear the one bolt that didn't sound right. Mallory's eyes glittered, daring me. "Do it," they said. "Make a scene. Give us a story." I smiled. It surprised them. It even surprised me. "That's fine," I said, calm as a receipt. "Pick your stranger. I'm just here to make sure everyone remembers you said it." The laugh gone like somebody hit a switch. For half a second, the only sound was the pool filter and the ocean wind pushing at the hedges. Out beyond the glass walls, you could smell the salt. You could smell the whole city pretending to be clean. Grant's smile tightened. He didn't like uncertainty. Men like Grant didn't do well with it. Tessa's phone stayed up. Her pupils grew. The recording was the whole point. Mallory blinked once, slow. Her smirk didn't leave, but something behind it shifted, like a door clicking shut. Then she leaned in close enough that only I could hear her. "Don't," she whispered. "You will lose." Grant's hand drifted toward my shoulder like he was going to be friendly, like he was going to guide me, like he was going to touch me in a way that made me look crazy if I reacted. Tessa's phone tracked every inch of it, and I realized right there under the party lights that this wasn't a joke gone too far. It was bait, and I was the fish they wanted on video. I didn't break at the party, not out loud. I walked like my legs belonged to somebody who wasn't bleeding on the inside. I nodded at people who wouldn't look me in the eye now that the show had shifted. I stepped around the pool like it was a hazard on a site, the kind you mark with cones and pray nobody trips into. Mallory turned her back on me immediately, laughing again, louder, like she could laugh me out of the yard if she tried hard enough. Grant followed half a step behind her, hand at the small of her back like a brand. I took the path along the side of the house. The glass walls showed me my own reflection. jaw clenched, eyes too sharp. A man trying not to become a headline. I could feel the phones tracking me. It wasn't paranoia, it was choreography. You notice things when you spend your life looking for what could go wrong before it does. Uneven ground, loose rebar. A man standing in the wrong place with the wrong tools. Tonight the wrong tool was a smartphone. Two men I barely knew, friends of friends, shifted to block the gate. Not fully, just enough to slow me down. Just enough to push me toward the backyard instead of the driveway. I stopped, looked at them, smiled politely. "Sorry," I said, "just heading out." One of them had the kind of grin that said he'd been told he was funny his whole life and believed it. "Aw, come on," he said. "Don't be like that. It's just a joke." Behind him, in the yard, Grant's voice carried. Low, smooth. It threaded through the noise like a blade through fabric. Mallory laughed again. The sound slid under my skin. I stepped toward the gate anyway, and Grant appeared beside me. Not in front of me. Beside me. Like we were friends. Like he'd decided to take pity on the guy whose wife just publicly spit on him. He leaned in close enough that I could smell whatever cologne he wore. Expensive and sharp, like it wanted to cut through the room and announce him. "Ethan," he said softly, "don't take it personal. She gets theatrical." He touched my shoulder. Not a hard grip, not a shove. Just a hand settling there like it belonged, like he was the adult and I was the kid having a tantrum. Tessa's phone was pointed at us from the patio. I saw the little lens glinting. My brain did a quick inventory. If I swung, I was done. If I shoved him, they'd edit it. If I cursed him out, they'd post the words and cut the rest. In a world like this, you didn't need to be guilty. You just needed to look guilty. Grant's fingers squeezed, friendly and firm. The kind of squeeze that said, "I can make you do things." "You don't want to make this ugly," he murmured. My heart was loud. My hands wanted to do something stupid and honest. So I did something small and controlled. I took his wrist, not crushing, not dramatic, just enough to lift it off my shoulder. Then I flicked it away like you'd flick away a stranger's hand on the subway. Grant stumbled half a step, not hurt, just surprised. The whole yard saw it. Somebody sucked in a breath. Grant's eyes flashed. His mouth stayed smiling, but his pupils went hard, black as asphalt in rain. "You put hands, Jack, and touch me?" he said, too quiet, catching himself, smoothing the words. "Careful." I kept my voice level. "Don't touch me again." A laugh popped somewhere, nervous and thin. I turned, and this time I didn't ask the men at the gate to move. I just looked at them like they were an obstacle that would be removed one way or another. They shifted aside. As I walked out into the driveway, I heard a voice behind me. Tessa's, sweet as poison. "Got it on video," she called, like she'd just caught a rare bird. I didn't look back. My truck smelled like dust and old coffee and the kind of work you can't fake. I sat behind the wheel and stared at my hands until the shaking stopped. Then my phone buzzed. Mallory's name glowed on the screen. A text. "You're done. He's going to ruin you." And under it, like a signature, "Don't make me choose." Day 1, Saturday night, 11:47 p.m. In my line of work, you learn that panic is expensive. Panic makes you miss measurements. Panic makes you sign things you shouldn't. Panic makes you climb a ladder without checking if the feet are set. I sat in my truck with Mallory's text glowing like a fresh bruise and did the thing that saved me on job sites. I made a list. 1. Do not go home. 2. Do not call her. 3. Do not respond like a man in a movie. 4. Find out what ruin looks like before it lands on your head. The apartment we rented, technically ours, technically home, was 15 minutes away, tucked behind a row of shops that sold candles and artisanal bread. The kind of place Mallory loved because the lobby smelled like eucalyptus. If I went there tonight, I'd be alone with her. Alone with whatever story she wanted to build. So I didn't. I drove to the 24-hour diner on Harbor Road, the one with the busted neon sign that always flickered like it was winking at you. Inside it smelled like bacon and old mop water and a kind of honesty you couldn't afford in Mallory's circles. The waitress knew me because I'd been in there at dawn after pouring concrete all night. She poured coffee without asking and slid a menu across like a shield. "You look like you lost something," she said. "I did," I said. "A version of my life." She didn't laugh. She just nodded like she'd seen plenty of people lose worse things in that booth. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mallory. "Come home, we'll talk." I stared at it. Then I typed back, "No. We'll meet where people can see us." My finger hovered over send. I felt the old urge to fix, to smooth it over, to be the man who can patch a crack in the drywall and call it a marriage. Then I hit send anyway. A minute later, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. No name, just digits. I let it ring out. The second time it called, I answered. "Ethan," Grant said, like we were already on first-name terms in hell. "You need to calm down." His voice was smooth, but the edges were there now. The kind of edges you hear in a man who's used to getting what he wants and doesn't like being told no. "Don't call me," I said. He laughed lightly. "Listen, Mallory's upset. You embarrassed her. You embarrassed me." "I didn't embarrass you," I said. "You did that all on your own when you touched me like you owned me." A pause. I pictured him smiling into a mirror. "You're not thinking clearly," he said. "You have a job, right? A reputation? Don't do something you can't take back." The waitress set my coffee down and looked at me like she could hear the poison through the phone. "I'm thinking clearly," I said. "That's the problem." I hung up. Then I opened my calendar app and scrolled. In a marriage, you share things. Passwords, addresses, schedules, little pieces of your life that become a map. Mallory and I had shared a calendar for years because it made logistics easy. Date nights, work trips, my job site inspections, her client dinners. I'd stopped paying attention to her entries because I trusted her. Because I didn't want to be the kind of husband who checked. Because love is supposed to be a place you don't have to keep your guard up. Now I looked. There were patterns, little blocks of time labeled with nothing but a single letter. G. Sometimes meeting, sometimes errand. Always at the same hotel on the boardwalk, the one with the rooftop bar where you could pretend you were in a nicer city. I didn't need an FBI badge to see it. I pulled up our phone plan account. Not messages, not content, just the billing page. Dates and numbers and call times. The kind of boring data nobody thinks about until it's their throat in a hand. Grant's number wasn't saved in my phone, but it was on the bill now, plain as day, sitting there like a cockroach you can't unsee. I took screenshots. I saved PDFs. I emailed them to a new account I created right then, something simple. Something I could access even if my devices disappeared. Then I called one person I trusted not to make it dramatic. Caleb Brooks, my coworker, my friend. The guy who'd helped me move a refrigerator up 3 flights of stairs without complaining. He picked up on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. "Ethan," he said. "What's wrong?" "I need you to do me a favor," I said. "And I need you to not ask why until tomorrow." There was a pause. Then, "Okay," he said. Just that. The kind of okay you get from a man who's seen you work yourself raw and knows you don't ask for help unless the building is on fire. "I'm going to send you some screenshots," I said. "Hold on to them. If anything happens, if I get accused of something stupid, these prove I wasn't the one making things ugly." Caleb exhaled. "Is this about Mallory?" "Yes," I said, "and someone else." Another pause, heavier. "Send them," he said. "And Ethan? Don't go anywhere alone with them, not once." I looked out the diner window at the empty road, the black stretch of coastal highway that could hide any story you wanted to tell about a man. "That's the plan," I said. When I hung up, I felt the first real shift of the night. Not relief. Just the calm you get when you stop hoping and start building. Day 2, Sunday. I slept in my truck for 3 hours in the diner parking lot, head against the window, coat pulled up like a kid hiding. When I woke, my neck hurt, and my phone had 8 missed calls from Mallory and one from a number labeled unknown. I didn't return any of them. Instead, I drove to my job site trailer before sunrise. If you've never stood in a construction trailer at dawn, you should know this. It's the closest thing to peace I've ever found. Blueprints laid out like maps, coffee in a stained thermos, the smell of sawdust and cold metal. Everything makes sense here. Measurements either match or they don't. A wall is either square or it isn't. You don't get to smirk your way around physics. Caleb was already there, leaning against the counter with his arms folded. He'd brought 2 coffees like he'd decided that was the most normal way to say, "I've got you." He slid one toward me. "You look like hell," he said. "I feel like a cautionary tale," I said. He didn't joke. That told me he'd read the screenshots. "Okay," he said. "What do you want to do?" "I want to stay employed," I said. "And I want to stay out of handcuffs." He nodded once, grim. "Then we treat this like a problem with steps." I loved him for that in a way I didn't have words for. By 9 a.m., I was sitting in a small office above a law firm that smelled like lemon cleaner and old paper. The lawyer wasn't some shark with a billboard. She was a family attorney named Dana Price, recommended by Caleb's cousin, and she looked like the kind of woman who'd seen every flavor of disaster and didn't flinch anymore. She listened while I talked. I didn't tell her the whole story like a novel. I told her like a man reporting an incident. Facts, dates, names. When I finished, she tapped her pen against her notepad. "First," she said, "you do not meet them alone. Not your wife, not this Mercer guy, not anyone from her circle." "I already decided that," I said. "Good," she said. "Second, you do not threaten anyone. Not in person, not by text, not in some half-joke you think you can explain later." "I don't plan to," I said. She looked at me like she'd heard that sentence 1,000 times right before somebody planned to. "Third," she said, "you document. You're doing that. Keep doing it. Save everything. If you have a shared account, you can access the billing. Don't access anything you're not authorized to. Do not do cute detective stuff. Juries hate cute detective stuff." I almost laughed, and the fact that I almost laughed made me feel sick. Dana leaned forward. "Ethan," she said, "here's what your enemies want. They want you loud. They want you messy. They want you to be the guy who throws a punch and gives them a clean story." I thought of Tessa's phone, the gate, Grant's hand on my shoulder. "Yes," I said. "That's what it felt like." Dana nodded. "So you stay boring. You stay procedural. You make every step something a judge would understand." "And what about him?" I said. "Grant." She shrugged. "Men like that hate consequences, but they understand policies and reputation. Your best weapon is other people's rules." The phrase stuck in my head like a nail. Other people's rules. Dana's assistant came in with forms. Dana slid them across the desk. "Separate finances," she said. "Change passwords to your own accounts. Move your essential personal documents somewhere safe. If you rent, check your lease. If you own, we start looking at what your rights are to the home." "My name's on the lease," I said. "So is hers." "Then we can handle that," Dana said. "Also, this matters. If your wife tries to accuse you of violence, you need to be able to show a pattern. Show that there's motive. Show that there's a reason for a smear." Smear. That word made my stomach clench. Because when I thought about Mallory's face last night, about the way she'd said, "Don't like it" was a warning, not a plea, I realized something. This wasn't just about her wanting someone else. This was about her wanting me smaller, quieter, safe for her new life to step over. On my way out of Dana's office, my phone chimed with an email. The subject line made my throat tighten. Notice of review. It was from my company's HR compliance address. The email itself was polite and cold. We have received a concern regarding your conduct at a private event. We have opened a review. Please do not contact involved parties directly while this process is ongoing. I stared at it until the words blurred. Caleb, beside me, whistled softly. They move fast, he said. They were ready, I said. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a new thought slid into place, calm and sharp. If they were ready for war, then I needed to stop thinking like a husband. I needed to start thinking like an opponent. Day 3, Monday. Mallory didn't call me anymore, she posted. It was a story on her social media. Black screen, white text, dramatic. No names, no details. Just a vibe, a performance. Some days you think you know someone, and you realize you never did. Please respect my privacy while I navigate a difficult situation. People love vagueness. Vagueness lets them imagine the worst and still feel righteous about it. Within an hour, I had 3 messages from people I'd met once at barbecues. Hey man, everything okay? Heard you're going through something. Maybe take some time off. Time off. Like you could take time off from being painted. Caleb told me not to respond. Dana told me not to respond. Every part of me wanted to respond anyway, to post the truth in big letters and watch it burn through her fog like sunlight. But sunlight can blind you too. I chose one move, one clean move. I didn't post a rant, I didn't call her names, I didn't write a paragraph about betrayal because people skim paragraphs and share screenshots of single sentences. I sent a private message to my boss and HR compliance with 2 attachments. The screenshot of Mallory's text. You're done. He's going to ruin you. The phone bill log showing Grant's number connected to our shared line dozens of times, including during work trips. And I wrote one sentence. I am concerned I am being provoked and recorded to create a false narrative. That was it. Then I went to Dana's office and signed paperwork like my hand belonged to somebody older. Somebody who'd already lost and learned. Dana arranged for a process server to deliver formal notice to Mallory about separation steps and financial boundaries. Not divorce papers yet, not drama, just lines in the sand. Why not go straight to divorce? I asked. Dana looked at me for a long second. Because right now your priority is safety and leverage. Divorce will come. First, we stop the bleeding. When I left her office, the sky had that gray coastal look that makes everything seem like it's waiting for a storm. I drove downtown to pick up copies of a contract file from our developer's office. My company needed it for a meeting, and I needed it because being competent at work was now part of my survival. The building had a parking garage connected to a skywalk. Concrete, echo, oil stains. The kind of place where footsteps tell the truth because sound can't hide. I parked on level 4 and walked toward the elevator. Halfway there, I heard my name. Ethan. I turned. A woman stood by a pillar near the stairwell. I recognized her from Mallory's circle, one of the friends who laughed too loud at the party. Lauren, I thought. Or maybe that was another one. They blended when you weren't the kind of person who collected them. She smiled, overly bright. Can we talk? She asked. I looked around. The garage was mostly empty, but not empty enough. A maintenance cart sat near a wall. A security camera blinked above the elevator doors. Good. Cameras meant reality might survive editing. We can talk right here, I said. She took a step closer. Her phone was in her hand, screen dark, thumb poised. I'm worried, she said. Mallory says you're spiraling. There it was, the smear dressed up as concern. I'm not spiraling, I said. I'm documenting. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Behind her, a door clicked. The stairwell door. And Grant Mercer stepped out like he'd been waiting for his cue. He didn't look like he'd just climbed stairs. He looked like he'd stepped out of a photo shoot. He wore a coat too nice for a garage. His eyes moved over me like he was measuring a flaw in a product. Lauren's phone lifted slightly. Not filming yet, just ready. Grant's voice dropped, intimate, as if he was doing me a favor. "We're here to help you, Ethan," he said. "No," I said. "You're here to create footage." Grant's smile widened. "You're paranoid." "I'm experienced," I said. He stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that if I backed up, it would look like fear. Close enough that if I stayed, it would feel like a threat. He spoke so low that Lauren might not even catch it on her mic. "Your company doesn't want liability," he whispered. "Your friends don't want drama. Your wife is going to tell them what you are, and people will believe her because she's prettier than you." It was such a cruel, simple sentence that it almost made me laugh. A security guard rounded the corner near the elevators, keys jingling. He glanced at us, reading the scene the way all guards do. Who looks like trouble? Who looks like money? I raised my voice just a notch, not shouting, just enough to make it obvious, not intimate. "Sir," I said, looking at the guard, "can you tell me if this area is under camera surveillance?" The guard slowed, eyebrows lifting. "Yeah," he said. "Why?" "Because I want this on record," I said, eyes still on Grant. "I don't want any misunderstandings." Grant's expression tightened, Lauren's smile gone. The guard looked between us, then up at the blinking camera. "It's recorded," he said. "What's going on?" Grant took half a step back, like he'd suddenly remembered manners. "Nothing," he said, voice smooth again. "Just running into an old acquaintance." "Great," I said. "Then you won't mind staying 6 feet away." Lauren's phone dropped. Her thumb moved, but it was too late. The moment was public now. The guard was a witness. The camera was a witness. Grant's eyes slid to me, cold. "You're making this hard," he said. "I'm making it real," I said. He stared at me a beat too long, then turned on his heel and walked away toward the stairwell, like he'd decided the scene wasn't worth the risk anymore. Lauren followed him, face pale, the concern mask crumbling. As they disappeared, my own phone buzzed. A photo message from an unknown number. It was my job site. The trailer door, photographed close, like someone had been standing right there, hand on the handle. Under the photo, 2 words: "We visited." My stomach dropped through the concrete, and I realized the smear wasn't their only plan. They were coming for my livelihood in the real world, not just online. Day 4. Tuesday. When you spend a day wondering who touched your job site door, you start seeing hands everywhere. At work, I kept my head down and did what I always did: schedules, submittals, RFIs, the 1,000 small decisions that keep a building from becoming a lawsuit. But under it, I was listening for the other shoe, for the email that would say I was suspended, for the call that would say somebody filed a police report. It came at noon, in the form of a voicemail from HR. "Ethan, please call me as soon as possible," the woman said. Her tone was neutral, in a way that wasn't kind. "This is regarding a complaint." "Thank you." A complaint. Not an incident. Not a concern. Complaint meant paperwork existed now. People's lives get changed by paperwork all the time. It's the most underrated weapon in the world. Dana's words echoed in my head. Other people's rules. I called HR back from my truck with the windows up, like I could keep the world out if I sealed the glass tight enough. The compliance officer's name was Miriam Holt. She sounded like she'd been trained to make sure her voice didn't give anything away. "We received a report," she said, "that you behaved aggressively at a private event over the weekend." "Define aggressively," I said. A pause. Paper shuffling. "We have video suggesting you struck Mr. Mercer." My pulse thudded in my ears. "I did not strike anyone," I said. I removed his hand from my shoulder. He approached me first. I asked him not to touch me. Multiple people were recording. It was staged. Miriam didn't react. "You understand this is serious," she said. "I understand exactly how serious it is," I said. "I'm requesting that you preserve any evidence you receive in full, unedited form, including metadata. and that you note that I have reason to believe I'm being provoked to create misleading footage." Another pause, longer, like she wasn't used to employees speaking that language. "I will note your statement," she said, "and," I added, "I'd like to provide documentation." I emailed her Mallory's text and the phone logs and a brief timeline. I copied Dana. I didn't include feelings. Feelings were gasoline. Facts were water. After that call, I sat in my truck and let myself shake for a full minute, because keeping it together takes energy and I was running low. Then my phone lit up again. This time it was Mallory, calling like she owned the right to my voice. I didn't answer. A text came seconds later. "Stop doing this. You're making it worse." Another followed. "Meet me tonight. Just us. We can fix it. Just us." The words slid into my head like a hook. I imagined the apartment, the eucalyptus lobby, the quiet hallway. No witnesses, no cameras except the lobby one they could claim didn't work. I typed back, "No, we'll meet in public. Harbor Road Diner, 8 p.m. Her reply came fast. "You're being dramatic." I stared at that word, dramatic, and almost smiled. Dramatic was her language, her stage, her weapon. She hated that I was refusing to speak it. That afternoon, I did what Dana told me. I moved essential things. Not everything. Not the couch or the TV or the blender we never used. I moved documents, passport, birth certificate, work laptop, the hard drive with my job files. I moved them to Caleb's house, where his wife gave me a look that said she'd already decided Mallory was a curse word. Dana arranged for a courier to serve Mallory with a formal notice about financial separation and a request to schedule property division. Nothing flashy, just paper that made the situation real to anyone who read it. "Paper makes people behave," Dana said when I called to confirm, "or it makes them show what they really are." I believed her. At 6 p.m., while I was tightening straps on a box in Caleb's garage, a new message came through from a number I hadn't saved. "Can you talk?" "It's Renee. Renee!" Mallory's friend. Not the queen bee, not the loudest one. The one who always looked like she was half a step behind the laughter, like she didn't like the taste of it. I hesitated. Then I texted back. "Call me." She called immediately. Her voice shook. "Ethan," she said, "I'm not supposed to—" "Then don't," I said. "Hang up." "No," she said quickly. "Listen, they're setting you up. Tessa wants you to swing first. She keeps saying if you snap on camera, it's over for you. They already sent the clip to your HR. But it's cut. It's cut to make it look like you hit him." My hands went cold. "Why are you telling me?" I asked. Renee swallowed. I could hear it. "Because I hate this," she said. "Because it's not funny anymore. Because they're talking about calling the police if you keep harassing them. And you're not even harassing anyone." A beat. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "They're going to get you to swing first, don't." Dana's warning, Renee's warning, 2 nails in the same board. "Thank you," I said. "Ethan," she said, voice breaking. "Be careful. Grant said if you don't back off, he'll make you disappear from your company, like you never mattered." I stared at the boxes in Caleb's garage, at my own hands on the tape dispenser, at the ordinary life that was being threatened by people who wore nicer shoes. "I mattered before them," I said. "I'll matter after." Renee exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days, and then she hung up, leaving me alone with the truth. They weren't trying to win a divorce. They were trying to erase me. Day 6, Thursday night. The boardwalk in winter is a different animal. In summer, it's families and sunburn and fried dough. In winter, it's wind and empty benches, and the ocean hitting the pilings like it's trying to knock the whole place loose. The closed rides sit under tarps like sleeping monsters. Security lights click on and off. Every shadow feels personal. I chose it for a reason. Public place, cameras, witnesses by accident, and an exit route if things went sideways. I didn't tell Caleb to come because I didn't want my friend in the middle of a circus. But I did tell him where I'd be, and I told Dana, too, and I told myself something else. If Grant wanted me to swing first, I was going to make sure the world saw who threw the first touch. The thing that changed everything came earlier that day in the form of an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject: I have the full footage. The sender was Miles Carter. I stared at it for a long time before I clicked, because in a week like this you start believing every link is a trap. Miles's email was short. Ethan, I live at Tessa's place. I saw what happened. The clip she's spreading is edited. The full video shows Mercer touched you first, and Mallory laughed. I don't like what they're doing. Attached is the raw file from the patio camera. Miles' patio camera. My stomach turned over. Tessa had a security system. Of course she did. People like her didn't trust the world. They just trusted their own version of it. I forwarded the email to Dana without opening the attachment first. Dana called me 10 minutes later. Do not reply with threats, she said immediately. Do not post it. Send it to HR, preserve it. And Ethan? Yeah? If you're going to meet anyone, do it somewhere public, and check the recording laws here before you decide to record audio. Don't give them ammunition. Understood, I said. When I finally watched the file on my laptop, my chest tightened. The camera angle was clear. Grant's hand on my shoulder, my hand lifting his wrist away. No punch, no strike, just his entitlement meeting my boundary. And then, clear as day, Mallory's face in the background, smiling, not nervous, not surprised, pleased. The video didn't just prove I didn't hit him, it proved the trap. I sent it to Miriam Holt in HR with a single message. This is the full, unedited footage from the event location's patio security camera. Please compare to the clipped version you received. Then I sent a text to Grant. I have the full footage. You can retract your complaint, or I can submit it everywhere it belongs. His reply came 5 minutes later. Where? One word. No punctuation. Like he was tired of pretending I had choices. I wrote back, Boardwalk, under the pier lights, 9 p.m., public. There was a pause long enough for me to think maybe he wouldn't show. Then, fine. At 8:55, I stood near the entrance where the boardwalk met the parking lot. The wind cut through my coat. The ocean smelled like metal and memory. A couple walked by with a dog and a sweater. A teenage kid skateboarded past, earbuds in, eyes half on the ground, like he didn't want to see the world. That kid became my first accidental witness. At 9:03, a black SUV rolled into the lot and parked 2 spaces away from me. The headlights stayed on for a moment, washing me in light, making me feel like a suspect on a stage. Grant stepped out. He wore a dark coat, collar up, hair still perfect. A man who believed the weather should respect him. A second man got out of the driver's seat, bigger, shoulders thick, face blank. He didn't look like a friend. He looked like an employee. Grant walked toward me, hands in his pockets, smile already loaded. You chose a romantic spot, he said. I chose cameras, I said. He glanced up at the lights, then back at me, annoyed, as if I'd put a bug in his suit. You're overplaying, he said. No, I said. You're underestimating. He stopped close enough for his breath to reach me. He smelled like money and bad decisions. You want to threaten me with a video? He said softly. I want you to stop, I said. I want you to retract the claim. I want you to leave my life alone. Grant's smile sharpened. You don't get to ask for that, he said. Mallory is done with you. She's upgrading. The word upgrade hit like a slap, not because it was clever, but because it was honest to how they saw people. Products, status markers, disposable parts. I nodded slowly, like I was considering a change order. Then tell her to do it clean, I said. Tell her to stop trying to frame me. Grant's eyes flicked toward the SUV. The driver shifted his weight, watching, ready. You're a problem now, Grant said. Problems get handled. He stepped closer. I didn't move back. Instead, I turned my body slightly so the pier camera was in line. so anybody watching later would see his posture, his approach, my hands down at my sides. "Back up," I said, voice steady. Grant leaned in, smiling. "You're not going to do anything," he whispered. "You're too scared. That's why she laughs at you." And then his hand moved again, reaching for my shoulder. It was almost identical to the party, like he couldn't help repeating himself. But this time, I wasn't alone in a backyard full of drunk laughter. This time, the ocean was listening. The cameras were listening. The teenage skateboarder had slowed down, curious, and was watching from 20 feet away. I lifted my hands, palms open. "Don't touch me," I said, louder, so the air carried it. Grant's fingers brushed my coat anyway. Something in his face shifted when he realized it. The way he'd done it again, on camera, in public. The way I'd set the stage so he couldn't edit himself into a victim. He pulled his hand back fast, like the touch burned. "You think this matters?" he snapped, losing smoothness. "I can bury you." "Try," I said. "But the footage goes to everyone who needs it, and your wife—" His eyes flashed. That was the first real crack. "Don't," he said. "There it is," I said softly. "That's the part you care about." Grant's jaw tightened. The driver took a step forward, and I realized this could go physical in a way I couldn't control if I stayed here. So I did the next step on my list. I walked, not running, not cowering, just turning and walking down the boardwalk under the lights toward the closed amusement pier where cameras were thick and escape was hard. Grant followed. "You don't walk away from me," he hissed. I didn't answer. I heard the driver behind him, heavy footsteps, like a shadow. Ahead, a security gate blocked the entrance to the pier walkway. A sign read, "Closed after 8 p.m. in bold letters, like a warning to anyone who thought rules were optional. Grant didn't care about signs, he cared about winning. He veered toward the side where a maintenance gap existed, a narrow path between a locked fence and a vendor shack. He moved fast, trying to cut me off, and then something changed in his eyes. Panic, because he saw the cameras mounted on the poles. He saw the security truck parked near the pier entrance. He saw the skateboard kid lifting his phone now, filming for real. Grant swore under his breath. "This is a setup," he said, and for once he sounded like the one being hunted. He spun, grabbed his driver's sleeve, and started back toward the lot. He was running. Not a sprint, but fast enough that it shredded his dignity. I walked after him, steady, letting him be the one who fled. Letting the boardwalk record what he really was when the lights weren't his. Halfway to the parking lot, headlights swung in from the street. A white car pulled up too fast and stopped hard at the curb. Mallory got out. Her hair was perfect. Her coat was expensive. Her face was eager, like she'd come to watch a performance. Then she saw Grant jogging toward her like a man late to his own reputation. Her mouth fell open. For a second she looked like she couldn't find the script. Grant reached her and grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the car. "Get in!" he snapped. Mallory looked from him to me, confusion turning to fear in real time. And in the cold wind off the ocean, with cameras blinking and strangers watching, the story she'd been rehearsing started to fall apart. Day 7. Friday. The ocean wind wasn't the only thing that carried stories in this city. By noon the next day, my phone was quiet in a way that felt wrong. No new texts from Mallory, no calls from unknown numbers, no HR demands. Silence is never peace when you're waiting for impact. At 12:14, Miriam Holt called. "Ethan," she said, "we reviewed the unedited footage. Thank you for providing it." I held my breath. "The allegation that you struck Mr. Mercer is not supported," she said. "We are closing that portion of the review." A slow exhale left my body like air from a tire. "And Mr. Mercer?" I asked, keeping my voice level, because I didn't want her to hear hunger in it. Miriam paused. "Mr. Mercer's conduct is outside our organization, but there are related concerns. Your report about being provoked and recorded is noted. If you experience further contact at your workplace, report it immediately. What about the complaint itself? I asked. The one based on edited video. Miriam's voice chilled another degree. We are documenting that the clip provided initially was incomplete. That is all I can say. Translation. Someone had tried to use my company as a weapon and got caught. When I hung up, Caleb clapped me on the shoulder in the trailer like he was congratulating me on a pour that didn't crack. See? He said. Boring wins. Boring doesn't feel like winning, I said. But it felt like staying alive, and I'll take that. The next hit came from a different direction. Renee texted me a screenshot of a group chat. I didn't ask how she got it. I didn't want her in legal trouble, but she'd sent it anyway, maybe because guilt makes people reckless too. In the screenshot, the chat bubble was from Tessa. He thinks he's smart. Grant, just keep pushing. If he touches you again, we call it in. Another bubble from Mallory. Make sure it's on video. He always snaps when he's cornered. My throat went dry. They weren't guessing. They were planning. Under the screenshot, Renee wrote, "They're panicking." Grant's wife found something. Mallory is freaking out. Grant's wife. I hadn't even thought about her beyond the outline Dana drew for me. Pressure points, consequences, the way a man's personal life can collapse when his public face cracks. I didn't contact her. Dana warned me not to. It would look like harassment. It would give Grant something to twist. Instead, Dana did it the clean way. She sent a formal letter to Grant's firm, attaching the unedited footage, requesting that all contact cease and that any false statements be corrected. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a threat. It was a paper trail, a bright line. Other people's rules. That evening, Mallory finally called. I let it ring twice, then answered, because avoidance was only useful until you needed something recorded. "Ethan," she said, voice sweet like she was calling from a spa. "Can we stop this?" "Stop what?" I asked. "The part where you tried to ruin me?" "I didn't try to ruin you," she said quickly. "You're twisting everything. Grant is stressed. He's got a lot going on." "Like a wife," I said. A pause, sharp. "Don't be childish," Mallory snapped, and the sweetness vanished. "You don't understand how this works." "How what works?" "Power," she said, and for the first time, she sounded honest. "People like you don't win against people like him. You're making it worse for yourself, for both of us." I looked around Caleb's garage, at the boxes with my handwriting on them. Work, documents, clothes, a life reduced to labels. "It's already worse," I said. "For you." She laughed, but it was thin. "You think you're scary now?" "I think you're predictable," I said. "You're trying to pivot from humiliation to victimhood. You're going to threaten me next." Her silence was confirmation. "I'm not threatening you," she said too quickly. "I'm warning you. If you keep pushing, I'll tell people you scared me. I'll tell them you were violent. People will believe me." There it was. The last card. I kept my voice flat. "You already tried that. It didn't work." "You don't know what I'm capable of," she hissed. I almost told her that I did know. I knew her better now than I ever had. But I didn't give her another speech to screenshot. Instead, I said, "We meet tomorrow, Harbor Road Diner, noon, you, me, and whoever you need to bring. Public, cameras, no surprises." Mallory's breath caught. She wanted private. She wanted control. She wanted a room with no witnesses. "No," she said. "Yes," I said. "Or we only communicate through attorneys." "Choose." A long pause, the sound of her weighing her pride against her fear. "Fine," she said. "Noon." Then she added, like a knife slid under the word, "And Grant's coming." My hand tightened around the phone. "Good," I said. I'd hate for him to miss the part where he loses. And when I hung up, my reflection in the dark garage window looked back at me with eyes I didn't recognize. Not broken, not hopeful. Just ready. Day 8. Saturday. I got there early and sat in my truck for 10 minutes, watching the parking lot like it was an intersection where a wreck was guaranteed. Across the street, the ocean was a dark sheet, loud enough to remind you it didn't care about any of this. My phone buzzed once, Mallory's number, then stopped. No voicemail, just a tap, like she wanted to make sure I was nervous. I wasn't nervous, I was tired. There's a difference. Nervous is a feeling you can talk yourself out of. Tired is a weight you carry until you drop it somewhere. When I finally walked in, I made sure the hostess saw my face, the waitress saw my face, and the cameras saw my face. I picked the booth where the corner camera would catch my hands and the door camera would catch whoever tried to crowd me. Dana called it building your own alibi. I called it refusing to be erased. I could still hear that party laugh in my head, the way it rose and fell like a wave. I told myself something simple. Today, nobody gets to cut the footage. The Harbor Road diner was bright in the wrong way. Fluorescent truth, no shadows to hide in. Cameras sat in the corners like tired eyes. I took my old booth and ordered black coffee. If I was going to end my marriage in public, I wanted my hands steady. At 11:58, Mallory walked in with Grant Mercer at her shoulder and Tessa glued to her phone. They slid into the booth across from me like it was a business meeting. Mallory wore her practiced face. "Ethan," she said softly, "please, let's do this quietly." Mallory started with softness, but I could see the gears behind it. Her eyes kept flicking to the door, to the cameras, to the people who might recognize her. Public made her skin itch. "I don't want this to get ugly," she said. "It got ugly when you brought an audience," I said. Her jaw tightened. "Ethan, if you keep pushing, I can say you've been scaring me. I can say you've been following me. You think people won't believe that?" There it was again, the last weapon, the same threat dressed in cleaner words. I nodded once like I was acknowledging a forecast. "Then you'll be saying it under oath," I said. "And you'll have to explain the chat where you plan to bait me." Grant's smile thinned. Tessa's phone hovered, uncertain now, like even she could feel the ground shifting. "You mean privately?" I said. "No." Grant leaned in, all teeth. "You're making it worse for her." "For her," I repeated. "She did fine making it worse for herself." Tessa's phone aimed at me. I could see my own reflection in her screen. Tired eyes, jaw set, a man refusing to be edited. Mallory tried again. "Delete whatever you have. We'll say we're taking space. You can take time off, reset." "I sent the full footage to HR," I said. The words hit like a dropped plate. Mallory blinked. "What footage?" Grant's head snapped toward her. That crack, just a hairline, was everything. I put my phone on the table, screen facing them. One thumbnail, Grant's hand on my shoulder, Mallory smiling in the background. Tessa went pale. Mallory's mouth opened, then closed. Grant's voice hardened. "Put that away." "No," I said. "You wanted video. Here it is." I unfolded one sheet of paper and slid it across. The group chat screenshot. Tessa bragging about pushing until I snapped. Mallory agreeing, Grant urging it on. Mallory read it, and the color drained from her face. "That's not—" Grant grabbed the paper, eyes flicking fast. His jaw clenched so hard I heard it. Tessa's voice jumped. "Who gave you that?" Mallory looked at Tessa like she'd just met her. "You were filming on purpose?" Grant stood up, booth rattling. "This is extortion," he snapped, loud enough to turn heads. "He's threatening us." I stayed seated, boring, procedural. "I'm preserving evidence," I said. "You filed a complaint with edited footage. Now the full footage exists, and this shows intent." The waitress hovered nearby, nervous. The security guy by the counter shifted closer, watching Grant, not me. Grant leaned over me, voice poison soft. "You're going to regret this." I didn't whisper back. I spoke at a normal volume, so the cameras in the room could hear. "Say it," I told him. "Say you edited the clip." Grant's eyes flicked, searching for a door that wasn't there. He looked at the security guy. He looked at Tessa's phone. He looked at Mallory falling apart. And then he made the mistake they'd been trying to make me make. He said, "We just needed you to react." Mallory's throat worked like she was swallowing glass. She looked at Grant, then at me, then at Tessa, as if she expected one of us to hand her a script. Nobody did. The silence was the script now. A man at the counter muttered, "Jesus," under his breath. The security guy took another step closer, and for the first time Grant looked small. The diner went quiet. Mallory stared at him, stunned. "What?" she whispered. Tessa's hands started shaking. Her eyes filled, and then she cracked like cheap glass. "Tell them what you made me record," Tessa blurted at Mallory. "Tell them you practiced that line. Tell them you told me to keep the camera on him." Mallory's face twisted. Anger, fear, shame, all fighting for the steering wheel. Grant grabbed Mallory's wrist. "We're leaving," he barked. Mallory yanked free like his touch finally disgusted her. "Don't," she said. The security guy stepped in, big and calm. "Sir," he said to Grant, "outside, now." Grant tried to push past, shoulder first, like the world owed him space. His elbow clipped my arm, nothing dramatic, but enough to tempt the old, stupid version of me. I didn't swing. I stood up slowly, hands visible, and moved into his path. Then I put my palm to his chest and shoved, controlled, clean, the way you move a man away from a hazard on a job site. Grant stumbled, heel catching the entry rug, and went down into the trash can by the door with a crash of metal and paper cups. Just a man in a suit sitting in garbage under bright lights. The manager asked if I wanted police. I shook my head. "Keep the footage for the record," I said again. The security guy hauled him up and marched him out, while Grant's face burned red with humiliation. Mallory took a step toward me, tears on her cheeks, reaching like she could grab the old story back. I stepped away. "You wanted a stranger," I said, calm as the line that started it all. "Congratulations. Now you get to be one." Mallory made a sound like air leaving a balloon. I walked out into the cold. The ocean wind hit my face and carried the diner noise away behind me. No epilogue, no new beginning, just silence and the road.